Everyone, and welcome to the ODPP Café. Karibu sana. It's been a while since we were here. Karibu to engage with us. We are live today on Facebook at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, Kenya. And we are also on YouTube at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, Kenya. We welcome you to subscribe. We welcome you to follow. We welcome you to invite your friends to also follow us and engage with us as we discuss topics of the law, especially from the ODPP perspective. Karibu sana once again, and I also invite you to engage with us on Twitter at ODPP_KE. So as always, we start with a sneak peek into the courts, and I just want to take you through some of the highlights that we have for you once here. So the first case we're looking at is about a man who vandalized a car at Kilimani police station. He has been jailed for a year. So a 53-year-old man who vandalized a vehicle that had been detained at the Kilimani police station and stole its door switch will serve 1 year jail term if he fails to pay 100,000. I read this case and I thought what audacity this was. So James Mutua Kiveka was handed the penalty by resident magistrate Jackie Ojwang of the Kibera Law Courts. Kiveka had on Thursday last week pleaded guilty to charges of theft of motor vehicle parts. So this guy just went to Kilimani police station and decided to steal. So he's been jailed for 1 year, or he pays a fine of 100,000 Kenya shillings. So the convict admitted that he stole one right door switch valued at 40,000 from a Toyota Prado, the property of the Republic of Kenya, at the station. Kiveka is accused of opening the car held at the station as an exhibit to commit the theft on 8th of June. He was apprehended by a breakdown attendant who saw him stealing the switch from the car parked outside the traffic police offices. Kiveka admitted the charges before Ojwang, where he was arraigned. I wonder if this is one of those cases somebody says, kanitafutie switch, and then this guy says, najua mali nitapata. The only problem is that alikuwa naipata kwa police station. And now he has to pay for that, for stealing, and also just from the government as well. The next case is about a police officer who's charged with killing a bank robbery suspect. The police was accused of killing Wycliffe Owuor, one of the suspects in the 72 million Nairobi West ATM heist in 2019. He has been charged with murder. James Ngige appeared before Milimani Court Judge Grace Nzioka and denied one count of murder. Through his lawyer, Danstan Omari, the accused had pleaded with the court not to detain him at Kayole police station, where police had taken him, saying that he faced security threats at the cell. So this was about the heist that took place in 2019, and one of the suspects was killed, and the police officer is charged with this. So the G4S team had collected the cash at around 6 a.m. and transported it to the bank when they were attacked by the thugs who offloaded the money onto a Toyota Noah and fled. The gang is said to have defied orders to surrender, instead engaging the officers in a fiery shootout that left the suspect dead. His accomplices escaped on a motorbike. Locals also claim that officers had arrived at the scene with him in a Toyota Probox and started dragging him before shooting at him. So the next one is about a man, a 40-year-old man who's jailed for life for defiling a 10-year-old girl. Rongo law courts have sentenced a 40-year-old man to life imprisonment after he was found guilty of defiling a 10-year-old girl. Clifford Otieno alias Kili was found to have defiled a minor at Anindo village in Awendo sub-county on the morning of November 26, 2020. He was arrested days later and charged with defilement contrary to Section 8 of the Sexual Offences Act, according to court documents. Just a minute. Otieno had denied 2 counts of defilement and engaging in an indecent act with a child and a minor, for that matter. According to the magistrate, the age assessment that was conducted and produced in the court indicated that the victim was indeed a minor aged 10 years. He further noted that medical examination conducted at Awendo sub-county, where the minor was rushed, further pointed out that she actually had been defiled. Magistrate Raymond Langat sentenced the accused to serve life imprisonment. He, however, has 14 days to appeal. Remember, some time back we talked about appeals, and maybe we need to repeat that topic just for further understanding. The next case that we'd like to highlight today is about a Kericho night guard was sentenced to death over a man's killing in market stall altercation. A 34-year-old man was sentenced to death by the High Court in Kericho after he was found guilty of murdering a man at Kabianga Trading Center in Belgut constituency. Justice Asenath Ongeri passed a sentence against Richard Kiprotich Mutai after he was found guilty of murdering Eric Kipkemoingetich. Mutai, who worked as a night guard, is accused of committing the crime while on patrol when he was alerted by 3 colleagues that a grocery stall had been broken into. A doctor who performed the postmortem told the court that the cause of death was a result of massive internal and external bleeding as a result of a sharp object and a sharp cut wound in the neck. The internal bleeding was caused by a penetrating arrow through the neck of the deceased. The accused said that he committed the offense while under the influence of alcohol, and he did not intend to kill the deceased as he was protecting his employer's property, thinking that he was a thief. That's very sad. The next case is about a fraudster who allegedly colluded with others to steal 156,000 shillings from an M-Pesa shop attendant. He was charged in Kibera Law Court with conspiracy to steal. Isaac Chege is accused of colluding with fraudsters to steal the cash from an M-Pesa account of Alan Indeche at Shangilia area of Kangiemi in Nairobi on 13th of June. So Chege allegedly went to Indeche's shop while purporting to be speaking to an M-Pesa customer care staffer on phone and told Indeche that he had been sent to his shop by the Safaricom staffer to get help in withdrawing cash. Wow. Indeche believed that he was speaking to an M-Pesa customer care attendant and followed the instructions to dial certain numbers after he was threatened with closure of his account. He later discovered that 156,000 shillings had been transferred from his account in transactions that happened as he dialed the numbers he was instructed to dial. Chege denied the charges before Senior Resident Magistrate Mwaniki Kamau. The case will be mentioned on 28th of June for a pre-trial and fixing of hearing dates. Watapeli wamesonga mbele kweli. Now, next, I just want us to, because today we are going to talk about the Day of the African Child, and we did some vox pops out there on the streets, and I just want you to see what people have to say about this day before we get into our discussion. Karibu sana and have a look at this.
African Child Day is a day set aside yearly to celebrate and to appreciate the African child. Anything positive in the society comes in us appreciating the culture and appreciating it positively still. So I think us as human beings, we grow up to develop and to try and evolve the way we have been taught and the way we have been carried through the system. So I think the first thing that should be done is by trying to alter the information that is being given to children from since they are in the low educational systems like the Sunday schools growing up. So I think they should be enlightened on the things that should be done, and they should be taught the essence of respect and appreciation of life in general, so that when they grow up or when they become adults, they will have to apply what they have been taught ever since they were children.
Okay, to me, first of all, in terms of development, the rate, I can blame the media, because there are some contents that the media, they play that are not good for the children to see, So, first me, the victimized for the knee, I can just blame the media. Yeah, the media are the ones that should be blamed, because if we have a good media, I think our children will grow in a good way.
Parents, they should create time for their kids. Parents should not be overwhelmed by work, and then you don't know what your kids they have been doing. And then also you should try children to engage in activities like football, dancing, creative work like making what, these doormats. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I hope you listened to what people said about the Day of the African Child. I don't know what the day means to you, but we want to discuss it today from the perspective of the law, and of course from the perspective of the Kenyan child. So before we start, I'd like to bring your attention to my guests, and I'd like them to introduce themselves. Of course, I'll start with Madam. Please tell us your name, what you do, and where you do it.
Thank you, Anita. My name is Motisia Moeni. I work with the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. I'm the officer in charge of Anti-Human Trafficking and Child Protection Unit. Our offices are located in Nairobi, South Sea, where the DCI Training Academy is. So our mandate is to investigate serious crimes against children. And then we also do rescue missions in collaboration with the Department of Children's Services.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karibu sana to the show.
Thank
How
you.
long have you done this?
I've worked with the Anti-Human Trafficking and Child Protection Unit for the last 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it interesting?
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Tukuite mama yao. I remember Carol Karimi came here because of her work with children. We're calling her mama yao.
Mama watoto.
Mama watoto. Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you
so
so
much for making time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Alan, tell us.
Thank you, Anita, for having me. My name is Alan Mogere. I'm a prosecuting counsel based in Kibera Law Courts,
Okay.
where we handle children matters among other criminal matters.
Okay.
I have been in the office of the ODPP since the year 2017.
All right.
So this would be here
Since
above
2017?
2017, yeah. 5 years, over 5 years.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and I love what I do.
Good.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Rarely do you get someone say they love what they do.
It's a good place to be.
Have you heard when you say bali mkisalamia mtu kutoka Kenya, Nairobi ama Kenya, ati sasa ukwaje? Ati tunang'ang'ana tu. Tuna struggle tu. So it's good. It's good to know that you're not ung'ang'ani kama wengine.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you once again for being here with us. And we'd just like to get your perspective about the Day of the African Child. So I saw the theme from AU was the right to participate.
Yes.
But then I think we contextualize it, and I'm glad we did, because we rarely do. I'm glad we did contextualize it and said, let's talk about eliminating harmful practices in respect to the children in Kenya. So again, karibu sana. And I don't know whether I get the background right about the Day of the African Child. Correct me if you are as old as I am, and you watched Sarafina. Is that where now we got to understand what happened in Soweto? That movie called Sarafina.
Yes,
Yeah?
yes indeed. This is a commemoration of what happened in 1976.
Wow.
Where there was a peaceful protest by students who are demonstrating against injustice and inequality in the teaching fraternity by the apartheid regime. So some were killed by police officers. So as from the year 1991, there was an initiative by African countries under the AU banner to commemorate the Day of the African Child. Yes, and as you rightly stated, this year's theme is the right of the child to participate.
Yeah. What does that mean, right to participate?
Uh,
Because we come from a culture where children are meant to be seen,
but not to be heard.
not to be heard. So now we are saying they have a right to participate. What does that mean?
Under the Constitution and the Children's Act,
Yeah.
you know, the nature of children, they are vulnerable. One, because of their age, they lack consent.
Yeah.
Mostly, decisions are made by adults. They are inability to express themselves. So we need to take steps that have been put in place under law. One is for them to be aware in case they are arrested,
Yeah.
in case they come into contact with the law. They must have somebody present to explain to them
What's
what
going
exactly is going on, because by dint of their nature, they do not understand.
Yeah.
So they must be informed so that they can be able to participate. As you said,
Yeah.
it's not for them to be seen, but their voice must be heard.
Must be heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Madam Weni, I liked starting this program, and I just jumped into it without, first of all, defining who is a child.
According to what the law says, a child is anyone that is below the age of 18. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the lawyer here would confirm.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's basically the definition of a child. Somebody
Below-
under below the age
18.
of yes,
Yeah.
18.
So you could be 18 and below, or you are 17 and below.
17. I mean, before you get to 18.
Yes.
Just before you get to 18.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So what do you think about this theme, the right to participate? We are in Africa, and a child is known. We grew up knowing kazi yako ni kuonekana na si kusikika. And now we are saying, it looks like the world has changed. We are saying tunataka kuwasikia. How does that work in this context? What do you think about this thing?
I want to add on what Alan said, and I think I want to agree with what he's saying, that in our context, really, children are taken like they're not supposed to be had.
Part of the furniture.
Property or possession. And it's good to change this mental status or this thinking that children are not supposed to be seen as property or possession. They're not owned by the parents, they're not owned by the state, but their views, their opinions really matter a lot. And we need to listen to them. We need to hear what they have, because any decisions that we make will have a long-lasting impact in their future and in their lives. So I want to agree that children have a right to participate in any decision that we make as a state.
Wow.
Yeah.
And even to the family unit.
Oh, yes.
But there's a very thin line. When you tell me my child needs to participate, alafu sasa avuke, participation ikuwe now disobedience. So where do you draw the line as a parent? Because we are taught, we are cultured to smack the life out of them when they speak back or talk back to you. So where do you draw the line?
In respect to a child, you know, we have two categories of children that come into contact with the law. We have a child in conflict with the law and a child in contact with the law. So a child in conflict with the law is a child who has gone against the set down regulations. A child in contact with the law is a victim or a survivor. So let me start with child in contact with the law. A child in contact with the law, once they are arrested, the person who's arresting that particular child ought to first of all explain to that child the reason of arrest. They're going to be detained and their right to have a next of kin or a guardian. So in that, they're given an opportunity to participate in the process. In their nature, they do not understand. So it is for somebody to come and step in and try and explain. So that is how they are entitled to participate. And it's something that cuts across from the point of arrest to the point of conclusion of the case. A child in contact with the law is a victim. This is somebody who something has been done against. Can either be brought by the parent or a good Samaritan. So in most cases, they do not understand. But their views also has to be heard, either through the guardian or themselves. We should not wish away what they feel. In fact, when you speak to the child, they might disclose much that was not given by the person who brought them. So they must be aware, yes, so that you can look into their welfare and know how to best address their issues. Yes.
All right. So we talk about now in the Kenyan context, eliminating harmful practices. What is prevalent when you talk about harmful practices in Kenya? What do you see? What cases do you see?
Like in our section, we've seen a lot of FGM, and we've seen a lot of sexual exploitation and abuse. And you find that this is very much enhanced by the different cultural beliefs. And in this case, it becomes a challenge, even for the law enforcers to deal with such practices. But I'm seeing some kind of decrease, because there's the FGM board that has really been doing a lot of sensitization in collaboration with other partners, other stakeholders. We've seen other non-governmental organizations that have gone to these communities that are very much into traditions and culture. We've seen them carry out a lot of sensitizations, and I think even the ODPP has been doing this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even you do community sensitization?
Yes, we also do community sensitization, education, but in collaboration with other non-state actors. Yes.
Ah, okay. I know I keep hammering this bit about the child being allowed to participate, but then culturally, were children allowed to participate?
No,
Is
but
it something that is new? Is it the reason why maybe it is quite hard to?
pre-2010, this was not something that was largely being undertaken by the general public, government, non-governmental organization. By dint of having the new constitution, it opened the space, and the rights of the child were factored in. So many organizations borrowed from what was provided there, and a certain provision that deals with children and the Children's Act. So we are highly encouraged. Of course, this is, as Madam Mweni has stated, through sensitization is when we'll be able to enlighten our people that children also have a say and they're entitled to be heard and not to be seen. Yeah, I agree with her. It's something that we need to
keep doing.
Yes, keep doing.
So when you talk about harmful practice and FGM comes up, I think there's a plan to end FGM by 2020. So are we 2022 actually?
Yes.
Are we going to eliminate FGM?
It's working.
Or rather,
yes.
What does elimination mean? That we'll totally close the FGM unit, we'll never hear of FGM again? Is it like eliminating polio? That sort of thing. So what do you mean when we say we want to eliminate FGM by 2022?
FGM, as stated, is criminally, is a criminal offense. And for us to eliminate these harmful cultural practices that have been there since time immemorial, we need to sensitize people. And we need to put systems in place, either through the local administration, to avoid these things from cropping up. And one of the areas that we need to do so is by arresting these people and taking them to court and having these people sentenced so that it can serve as a deterrent measure. It's not something that can end today because this is something that is done in secrecy. It's not something that is done in the open. So it's very hard to come by. It's something that we need to work together as sectors within the justice system to ensure that it is eliminated. It's not something that we as DPP can do, but it needs
it's an
collaborative, collaborative
approach.
Yes.
Okay. So I just again still want to talk about FGM and beyond culture. Why is it still rampant? We understand it's harmful. We know the problem with FGM, but we still see it happen. What are the reasons you get beyond culture if you say get a case of FGM?
In most cases, it's the fact that it is so much instilled in the minds of the people.
That it must happen.
That it has to happen. You even find young children that are saying that it's a rite of passage. We have to go through this. I'm not going to get married unless I've gone through this. So it's like it's been so much emphasized in such certain backgrounds. And in most cases, it's not easy to even turn that person from that thinking. So as Alan is saying, if we are able to work together, even with the political leaders, even with the community leaders, those people that hold positions in the communities, we can really eliminate this. Yes.
All right. So 2022 still looks promising. Does it?
It's work in progress.
It is work in progress.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some of the rights of a child in Kenya? What are those things that cannot be ignored when it comes to children in Kenya?
First and foremost, we have what we call the best interest of the child. That is catered in a number of legislations, key among them the Constitution, which is like sort of our Bible. We must look at the progress, growth of the child, and what should be the best option, available option, when a child is brought to us. As an office, we, through the able leadership of the DPP, we've been able to come up with practice directions in respect to dealing with prosecution of children matters. And key among them is to ensure that there's legal representation of a child.
The
When a
right to
child, yes,
representation.
yes, yes. When a child is brought, the prosecutor must ensure that before they even take plea, have they been accorded legal representation? In the event this is an ongoing case, a prosecutor must ensure, in the event that they know this is a child, that they are accorded legal representation. And they must make steps and make an application to the court, and the court has the obligation to appoint a state advocate to appear on behalf of that particular minor. In the event the court declines to do so, you're entitled to appeal on that particular ruling, because you know this would be occasioning injustice on a child who, in most cases, does not understand what is.
Appeal the prosecutor?
Yes, the prosecution. They'll just pray for a certified copy of that particular ruling and appeal to the High Court, so that that anomaly can be addressed before you proceed. Yeah.
Is it not difficult when you find yourself dealing with a child in conflict with the law, and still you have to protect them?
I mean, you must have also your human aspect. This is a child who does not understand. You can imagine this is like you, David and Goliath. A child does not understand. I have gone to school. I have been trained to practice law.
Yeah.
This is a child who does not understand anything.
Yeah.
So you must bring that child to a level that you are at par. Yes.
Have you ever had a case that made you wonder, should I continue prosecuting, or do I just go and live with this child?
Yes, in most cases, the cases that are brought to us have...
Gut-wrenching.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a case that was brought to me. This is a child of 2 years, but this is a child in contact with the law.
In contact?
Yes, not in conflict.
Yeah.
This child was defiled. They had to undergo about 16 surgeries.
16?
16 surgeries. You can imagine putting yourself there, the child is brought to you. But it's, at times, I think we need to have some psychiatric evaluation of ourselves because of what we see there.
Yeah, yeah.
And a child in contact with the law, in most cases, we find we are brought kids who many a times, due to peer pressure, they do certain things, and they're very remorseful. And when they're brought to us, what we normally do as an office, before we take them through the justice system, we first see on how best we can assist this child through restorative and rehabilitative means. So we can either divert that matter or do a plea again. But again, this child must be aware
that this is happening.
Yes. And they must be willing to accept what they had done for us to see the best way on how we can assist. Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
We'll still come back to plea bargain and diversion.
Okay.
But Madam Mweni, I'm wondering, when we talk about, again, harmful practices, there's sexual offenses against the child. Why is there so much, why are these cases so out here in the open? What is the reason for these cases rising like this? What is the reason for the rise in cases of sexual offenses? Again, if you go back to cultural setting, there's a way in Africa where you're meant to protect the children because you call them our future. But then now, do we forget you're African at this moment? And then now the cases just spiral and you wonder what's going on, because right now, you can't trust your children alone outside. You can't trust to send your children to walk to school. You can't even trust to put them in a taxi or a boda because you don't even know who is driving them to school. So what's happening? Why has the society deteriorated this much that we do all these things against these innocent souls?
You know, Anita, several years back, I think decades back, the child used to belong to the society.
Yes.
And there was
Used to, can you imagine?
Yeah, there was that aspect of like, Anita, you see my child, even making a mistake and you're able to correct that child. But nowadays, if you do that, I'm against you. I'm like, why?
What are you doing?
Shughulika na mambo yako, you know?
Yeah.
But you find that if children are vulnerable and there's no one that is taking care of these children, there's no one that is looking out for them, definitely the society and criminals are going to take advantage of that. The parents also have become so busy looking like they're working, they're trying to make ends meet, and the children are sometimes, most of the times, left all alone or with the house help. So you find that really the child has been exposed a lot to vulnerability. And this calls for, I think, getting back to those old traditions where you would also think that I need to care about this child. And then again, we're also calling upon parents. Is it possible that you somehow commit to the children? Is it possible that you ensure that the rights of the children are protected? For example, are they protected from harmful practices or from any harm? So if we get back to this, and if really as parents we commit to this, I think it's going to reduce the rate into to which children are violated. Yes.
So are we saying that in the days of our parents, they were not that busy? Are we just looking for a good excuse to say why children are exposed? Because it doesn't make sense. Our parents used to go to work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe then mothers were home, fathers went to work.
I think sometimes back parents, like I would give an example. My parents used to really be committed towards the children.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming parents that they're not committed,
Yeah.
but they would do much better. They would commit a lot to ensuring that the children are protected.
Yeah.
Because you're finding that we so much leaving the children to the schools.
Yeah.
The teachers are saying that they cannot do it all alone.
Yeah.
So, and another thing, the police cannot police in the parents. I
You
mean,
can't
in the
police
houses.
Yeah,
you know.
can't.
Yeah. So it's a matter of us getting.
It's a very delicate balance.
Yes.
Maybe to add on what Madam
Yeah.
Monia stated, you know, we live in the era where we have advanced technology
Yeah.
and we have also protection of the media.
Yeah.
Mm.
So there are certain things that you cannot, as a parent, stop a child from seeing. This is something that is there.
Yeah.
So that is where they get this exposure and we get to see behavior that is unbecoming.
It's unbecoming.
Yes.
Is there a law that sort of also protects children from these things again? Do you say censure the media? Is there something that stops the media from airing these things?
Yes, the media essentially, they are entitled to broadcast content that is not harmful to the society.
Yeah.
In the event they feel that this is going to be content that is not suited for a particular age, they are entitled to disclose that parental guidance should be advised.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sasa wana advice nani if the person watching is
It's again very
doesn't even care
difficult
for
because
that.
you see you cannot police your child when they are away from you
yeah.
using electronic gadgets. It's not possible for you to be all-rounded and to monitor them through and through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think just to add on what Alan is saying, I think even the service providers are coming up with ways of like limiting how much a child is able to watch or the age limit on getting through these platforms. And the Communications Authority of Kenya has also given out guidelines that are now guiding the technology industry. So somehow we're also seeing these other actors that are coming in to assist in policing that technology environment. Yeah.
I hope it works because children, they are totally exposed.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
And
yes.
even the content of our productions, local productions, you just see people fighting, people harming each other in the name of acting. Like the world has just become about tutapigana,
Yeah.
tupigane,
Yeah.
kipindi imeisha.
That's true.
So kids also are just seeing this.
Yeah.
We don't longer see programs that sort of, remember that we used to watch, was it Neighbors? You know those programs that were so much about family values. Ama we find them boring nowadays, I don't know. But well, if there are laws that actually govern how technology is or how media works, then that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, is it Instagram? Just the other day, they've come up with a way of a parent being able to monitor what the child is doing and how long they're supposed to take when they get into the social media. So even these platforms, they are in a way helping us, which is good.
Watoto wamekuwa wajanja. Utafikiria kwa Instagram as Anita, kumbe ako Instagram as A.
That's true. That's true. That's why
Anafanya vitu zake. Yeah.
for us to get certain information from a child, for instance, the exposure that they have received and that has led them to do what they did, we have certain mechanisms that we put in place.
Okay.
So when a child is brought to us, we order for a social inquiry report through a children's officer. So that is when the interrogation would go with the child in an environment that is suitable with the child. You'll get to understand why they committed this offense and what was the link, the exposure, so that it can be used to sort of rehabilitate that particular child. So we have mechanisms that we can sort of use to know what led this child to do such and such a thing.
And it's a very good point you bring out. Maybe just talk to us a bit about these child-friendly rooms that I think the ODPP is launching across the country, and what they're about and why it is important that they actually exist.
So as an office, we have been able, through partners, to come up with 6 child-friendly interview rooms spread across the country. There is one in Mombasa, one in Lamu, one in Kiambu, one in Kajiado, one in Nakuru, and one in Kisumu. So I have had the pleasure to visit one of them in Nakuru.
Nice.
It's a very good room that is very child-friendly. This is a room that is basically used to protect the privacy of the child and also used to interview the child. One, before a child is taken to the court, they must be prepared. We must do a pre-trial. In most cases, when a child is taken directly to court, they normally mute.
They are unable to talk.
They are unable to talk, either by themselves or they might have been threatened by the perpetrator. It's something that you might not know. So in these rooms is when we get to talk to the child, prepare them, and ask them to open up on what actually happened. And also tell this child that when we go to court, I'll be sitting in a certain position, the judge will be sitting in a certain position, you will be sitting in a certain position, and this is what will happen. There are chances that you would get a case where the perpetrator is the guardian. So it will be very difficult for this child to open. So you also need to prepare them on that particular aspect and try to reassure them that everything will be okay.
Are they taken to court with their perpetrators in the same room?
Oh, it depends. It depends. And this is where we as prosecutors would have to assess this child before we take them to court. So if you assess the child and you see this is somebody that ought to be protected, we need to take measures. Measures such as using a witness box. There are courts that have a witness box. In the event that you have a court that does not have a witness box, you have to improvise. You have to be creative. A witness box is a concealed sort of place that a child has to go in and deduce evidence from that particular concealed place. This one will protect the child from getting...
So the child doesn't see the people in the court?
It is created in a way that the child can see. The child has an option to either see or not see. There are some that have a glass. The child has to go in and it has a microphone. So they'll just project their voice from inside that particular thing. The perpetrator will not be able to see. But me as a prosecutor, I have an angle where I can speak to the child that the child can gain confidence.
So there's a way the child can actually give evidence without seeing the crowd in the court?
Yes. This has to come out when you assess the child prior to you going to court. You do not want to be ambushed in a case where you bring a child and they are stuck mute. It is even difficult for you. You even get confused. Yes.
Is it a shared facility with the justice sector actors? These rooms?
No, the room itself can be. Yes, it can. There are cases where we do virtual hearings. So there are facilities in place. There is a camera that you can use for the child to deduce evidence virtually. In the event you see that this is a child that needs to be adequately protected. And the law, since the hit of COVID-19, we largely moved to virtual hearings. So this is something that is accepted and has been tested and is practical. So we use those rooms at times in cases where the child cannot be taken physically to court to give evidence. So that is where we leave the child, and the defense will have an opportunity to also ask the child questions. So the beauty about this, the child can be seen, but the perpetrator cannot physically see the child. So we prevent these aspects of intimidation. Yes.
So these rooms are like a pediatrician's room. They have dolls and things.
The room is set up in a way that it caters for children from the ages of maybe 4 to 17. So they have different chairs. We have small chairs to cater for these small kids, where you have to sit and put yourself at the level of that child, so that you are at par, you can interact freely and communicate. And we also have big chairs where we have kids who are at puberty, you know, some of whom think they know more than you. So you have to give them a space where they can comfortably express themselves. We also have crayons where they can draw. It's a good place. It's child friendly, where they can draw in the event that they can't express themselves. You tell them to just draw a structure of a human being, and just in a classic case of defilement, and point at where they feel the act occurred. In a case of cruelty, where they were injured, in the event they fail to express themselves. And we also have objects in that particular room and dolls that they can use to express themselves.
Or to express themselves as to what happened to them. Quite interesting. So lawyers are also psychologists.
of sorts. It's something that you learn through the job. So you know, you have to have skills on how to handle a child for them to give information that is beneficial to you and in the best interest of that particular child. Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right. So, Madam Winnie, Alan has given us a very elaborate way of how they interview children. I'm just wondering, now when it comes to your office, is there a special way you handle children?
Yes.
Is it like there's a special room, there's a special facility, or there's just a special way in which you handle children? Because I know, Anita, I would be very afraid of the police. Afadhali uyatavaa suti ama atakuja usiku amevaa t-shirt, but now I have to walk into or deal with somebody from the police force. So how do you make it easier for the child to communicate?
If I talk about our unit, that is the Anti-Human Trafficking and Child Protection Unit, I would say that we have specialized officers. These are officers that have been trained on how to handle children, on how to talk to them, on how to interview them, and specifically on how to investigate specific cases such as defilement, such as abuse. So you find that when a child is coming in, they know this is the way we're going to handle. And we've got these children that have different needs. They know how to address those different needs. We've got rooms. In fact, we've got a very nice interviewing room where you're going to find that if an officer is going to interview that child, they usually do like two. There's no time a child is going to be interviewed all alone. So you're going to find that there are two officers that will be interviewing that child. But before the interview, the first thing that we usually do is we ask a counselor to talk to them, because we find that they're usually traumatized. Most of them are usually traumatized. So they talk to them, and they go through several sessions. And then until the time that the counselor is going to tell us that now this child is ready to talk. And that is the time you're going to find the police now coming in, now the investigators coming in to interview that child. But before then, we cannot do it. There are some children that will come and they just completely shut. So that is when you find that.
Scary.
Yes. You find a child completely not talking. And then children also have preferences. You ask them like, are you comfortable when we are together? Or a child is going to tell you, no, I'm not. Are you comfortable if you're going to interview them when if your parent is here or your guardian is here? Some will tell you no. And then in that case, yes. And then in that case, you start realizing that you need to follow what the child wants. So in this, going back to your questions, I would say that due to the specialization that the detectives have acquired, it's easy to handle children. Yes. And we've got those rooms where they do the interviews. I know that this is not very much available out in the police stations. But at the police stations, we've got the child protection units where they're also trying to modernize and make it child friendly. we are also finding that the police officers are being trained a lot. In fact, yes, on how to handle children. In fact, we've done some trainings within Nairobi for those police officers that are handling children, on how to investigate cases of children, on how to handle children in the right manner. Yes.
It can be very difficult investigating a child's case.
Yes.
Just like prosecuting. I don't know what I do, honestly. I think I can be very troubled.
It's not easy, but it calls a lot for patience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs someone that's very patient, and that person that has to have passion towards children.
So that's how you select your team?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're not passionate about children, you've got no business with children.
But kama ni wera? Kama tu ni kazi?
No. It's not about work.
No.
It's about a child.
The interest of the child.
And the best interest of the child, in fact. It is one of our guiding principles.
All right.
You find that anything that we do, it has to be guided by the best interest of that child. Yeah, and we always keep it in our minds that this is a vulnerable person that you are handling.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This show we must talk about spare the rod. That's the thing the Bible says. So at what point do you cross into violence? You've heard people jokingly say they are surviving their childhood. Yani childhood was PTSD. Ulikuwa unafanya mchezo unachapwa. So what does the law say? To what extent can you actually discipline your child? When does it cross into being criminal?
Generally, the law outlaws corporal punishment. It was outlawed. There are certain aspects that maybe can be allowed, but should not inflict injury on the child.
Yeah.
The moment it does that, then it crosses to a whole different avenue. So there you are liable. Be it your child, be it that you're a teacher. No, the law is the law. The law does not look at you as a parent, you as a guardian. So long as you inflict injuries, you have committed an offense. Yes. But then when the file is brought to us, we must look at it holistically. That is why when a file is brought to us in respect to a child, this will be in contact with the law. We must ask for a social inquiry report to look at the circumstances surrounding this. In the event we find that this was not intentional, it was meant to probably discipline the child, we will factor that in our decision to charge. Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
What do you think? Chapa mpaka asikize ama wachana nayo?
I want to agree with what Alan is saying, because even we discipline, yes, but we don't need to harm the child. We need to remember that if it's discipline, the law says that you're not supposed to harm the child. The child is protected, and it's not that it's my child. I have to abide by the law. Yeah.
Caning in schools?
Well, it's still
the same.
Yeah, still the same. You're not supposed to inflict injury. You know, the child is
pain and injury.
Yes, the child is protected against any form of cruelty, which is also something that has been adopted as an international practice, which has been domesticated through international instruments, through our constitution.
I was reading another interview that said, "Munatuambia tuweke mtoto time out." An African child doesn't get what time out is. Anajua tu violence. So now you're telling us ati tuambie time out. Hata kuelewa atasema time out nikifanya nini?
There's a thin line between discipline and cruelty. So you have to.
And actually the other day my sons got into a problem outside, and then I asked them, what do you want me to do to you? And my youngest told me, tuchape tu alafu tuende. Tuchape iishe. So I was thinking, mimi nawafungia kwa nyumba mpaka mshike adabu, as in so that you know how to play the others outside. But this boy who's just barely 5 tells me, Mom, I think you should just beat us. Finish, we go. So he even brings for me kiatu, and I'm like, what is this child even telling me? But see, that's how we are brought up. Chapa ishe. And people say sometimes, even there is emotional damage, emotional, what is it called? Violence. Like you tell me so many things, or you tell your child so many things, that saa zingine afadhali umchape ishe. So there's all that we need to unschool our biases and also what we believe in. As our people.
In fact, the question would be like, nikichapa imeisha, are they not going to go back and do the same mistake again? How long are you going to keep on beating?
It calls that we need to look at other ways to probably discipline the child. For instance, talking to the child and making them understand. Because, you know, this is, the caning is meant to rehabilitate the child. But by caning, have you done that? Yes.
Okay. Okay. So again, we must talk about child labor because it's also one of the harmful practices in this country. So I don't know what cases of child labor do you see? Because life has also become so difficult. We might say that education is universal in Kenya, but not all children go to school.
True.
So what are some of the cases you see within the ambit of child labor?
I think we've seen cases that are coming to our offices where a child that is less than 10 years are employed as domestic helps. Yeah. And the parents support that. You find an auntie coming in saying that I would like to go help your child go to school, but then they don't take them to school. Instead, they use them as house helps in the house. So basically, parents also do not understand that that is exploitation for labor.
Yeah.
And if they knew that, I don't think that they would allow their children to be used in such a manner. We even ask ourselves in the household, we use our children, we exploit our children.
Now we can
Yeah.
now you're confusing me. So even housework, I'm training you. It's a life skill. I'm telling you, it's a life skill. So when does it cross to child labor?
Alan.
The law provides that a child below the age of 13 years cannot be employed for gainful employment.
Yeah.
But above 13 years to 18, you can. But
Above 13?
Yes, above 13 you can.
Not
But
18?
No, the law provides that a child above 13 years can be employed, but it should be minimal work which they can do.
Am I justified in looking at you like that?
It is,
13?
yes, it is the law.
Okay.
It is the law.
All right.
They can, under supervision and minimal, not for exploitation purposes. That is the law.
Okay.
But a child below 13 years cannot be employed. Cannot.
Let me ask you, Anna, when I employ a child 13 and above, I'm already exploiting them.
So there's
Is
a
it
thin
the
line.
law contradicting?
There's a thin line. There's
Yeah.
a thin line between exploitation and having something that they can control. But this is subject to control from the Ministry of Labor and Employment.
Yeah.
There has to be supervision, and there has to be reports that ought to be taken, and there has to be a register that you have employed such and such a child, and they're undertaking this such light work. It is called light work. They're undertaking light work.
I feel like I can discuss that for a whole day.
It is.
What is light work? Are they going to school, for example?
You have to also factor in that. You see, a child is entitled to a right to education. So if that is hampered, then you're exploiting this child.
So just don't employ a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, there are situations that some children find themselves in that they
Must work.
they must work. For instance, this is a breadwinner.
Alan, a 13-year-old and a breadwinner.
But that
And
is
there's
the
the
law.
government.
It happens.
Yes,
The law
it happens.
allows for that.
What have to say, the things on the ground are different.
Yes,
Yeah.
it happens. But for instance, me having a child in my house, giving them work, that is something that is light.
Yeah.
I'm not exploiting them.
Yeah, and I'm not paying them.
Yes, and it is for their own good. They are part and parcel of that household. So it is
It's for
allowed.
their own good.
Yeah, it is allowed. It
All
is
right.
allowed.
Okay, so we have a question on social. Someone says, thanks Margaret Nderi. She says it's a very educative forum. And this other one is by Ignatius Mwangi Kamau. Thanks, Ignatius. I think just once again, just inbox and we'll get back to you today. We're sorry about that. We'll give you directions on how to send your complaint. He says he has a complaint he wants to share with ODPP that leads to. But I think the internet has gone bust on me. It's not. Let me see this. Someone says, Martin says, Kibera, we are well represented. Good job, Alan. Clearly.
Thank you.
Hata pia hii imehang. But we usually have questions on social, but maybe we'll not be able to deal with them today. Because
Yes, but if I may, going back to
Yes.
what Madam Weni was saying,
Yeah.
in terms of child labor, there's a thin line between child labor and trafficking. So under the law, trafficking has about 6 ingredients. There is transfer, transport, recruits, harbors, or receives
Yes.
a person for exploitation. One among them is child labor.
Yeah.
You see, in most of our households, this is something that happens. It's only that people hide under the blanket.
Yeah.
We have house helps who are below the age of 18.
A lot of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the work that they engage is not light work.
No.
True.
It's very heavy.
True.
So this is a child who has been brought from the rural setting.
Yeah, transported.
Yes, transported. The
Yeah.
parent has consented.
Yes.
Brought to the city.
Yes.
There is an agency that is used to recruit.
And a house girls bureau.
Yes, bureau.
Yeah.
This house girl is taken to a house,
Yes.
given a lot of work.
Yeah.
So when such a case is brought to us, we have to look at it holistically. Yeah, you see, through probably getting a social inquiry report that is of paramount importance in involving a child, a children officer.
Yeah.
So we get to pick the mother, the lady from the house girl bureau, and the person who has employed this child. So in most cases, we end up not charging the mother because there are certain extraneous circumstances that necessitate
The mother who
it.
sent me to work in the
Yes,
city.
we do that. We do that because it is not intentional for them to do so. It is because of the environment that they find themselves in and the economic situation. So normally we use that.
No.
In most cases, we are advised
Yeah.
to use the mother as a witness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Okay.
if we don't use the mother as a witness, we'll not gain any
True.
sort of
Okay,
conviction.
I get that.
True.
Then we'll take the lady or the man from the house girls bureau
Yeah.
and the person who was employed because
Yeah.
it is for gainful
Yes.
financial
And
gain.
sometimes even the money is sent to their mother.
Exactly,
Home country.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
But again, poverty.
agreed,
Yeah.
but mostly it borders on the lines of trafficking.
Trafficking.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
In country trafficking.
in country trafficking.
Yeah.
So if it's outside, we use smuggling.
Yes.
But in most cases, smuggling, the person has consented. They know. Though they are below the age
Oh
of 18,
yes, they know they are being taken
they
elsewhere
know. Yes,
for
they
some
know.
reason.
We have cases where girls from Uganda are brought into Kenya. There is a classic case.
Knowingly.
Yes, knowingly. We had girls, the Karamojong girls from Uganda brought to Kenya. They were told that Kenya is a land where you will walk on tarmacs, there is no dust,
Yeah.
only for them to come and find themselves on the streets. And it's actually a very sad situation. They end up now engaging in acts of prostitution.
To survive.
You see? So over and above them being exploited, there is an offense of defilement.
Yeah.
You see, they're being exploited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a broad area that has to be looked at it as it is.
Wholesome.
Yes.
Okay. We need to wind up. I have another question, but we need to wind up because of time. There's this person I saw a story on Facebook just the other day that he made a 16-year-old girl pregnant, and this girl wants the father to this girl has taken this guy to go through the system to get dealt with. But now this girl says, I love this guy, I want him to marry me. Wachaneni nae. What does the law do?
We've got such cases, and we've got crazy girls.
Yeah.
A girl gets pregnant, and they're really in love with that man.
Because they presented to themselves as.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when they go to the courts, they say that I don't even know what you people are doing. I'm not seeing why you're wasting your time.
Mimi nilikuwa tu sawa.
Mimi mwenyewe nilikubali. No one forced me.
So what happens?
But you remember that there's under 18, nothing like consent.
Okay.
Ama Alan unasemaje?
Hakuna concept.
Yeah, it depends again. As an office, we have a policy.
Yeah.
We do not entertain any plea bargain, diversion, or out-of-court settlements in matters, sexual offences. But again, we have a classic bracket of what we call Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
Between the brackets of, say, 19, 18, and the girl is between 17, 16. So this has to be looked at differently.
Again, yeah.
We have precedents from the High Court
Yeah.
that tells us to look at these cases in a certain fashion. So that before we make the decision to charge, we must be abreast with all that particular information. But if the age gap is so wide,
Yeah.
for instance, somebody is 30 years, the perpetrator is 30 years, the victim is 15,
This one
16.
is 22 and the victim is 16.
Oh,
We
no.
cannot entertain that. We
Kwa
cannot.
Maisha.
You know, if we do that, we'll be encouraging a culture that will be replicated
Yeah.
across the country.
Yeah.
They would say, why am I being treated differently? Yet in this particular case,
Yes.
this was done.
Yeah.
So it's something that we should frown
All right.
Yes.
on. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to close I want to thank you so much. You know, sometimes an hour runs so fast you don't even know.
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine you can bought Mongia for 1 hour, would you even believe?
Bless
But I hope you've said what you needed to say. I've asked what I needed to ask, but maybe just seconds, just wind up. Day of the African Child, what does it mean to you as a person? What does it mean to you as a prosecutor?
Oh.
Is there a future for the African child?
Yeah, it is. I personally am passionate about matters children, and I think we should do more
Yeah.
to safeguard the rights and interests of a child.
Yeah.
For instance, we are told that a matter involving a child should be concluded within 6 months.
Oh.
Yet that is not something
It
that
doesn't,
happens
yeah.
on the ground. So there is more that needs to be done. It's a collaborative effort
Yeah.
between all sectors in the
Yeah.
justice criminal system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should do more.
We should do more.
We are doing something, but
But there's more.
yeah, we need to improve.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Winnie?
Yeah, as a person, I would say that there's a future for the children.
Yeah.
And I would say that if we all safeguard their rights, we're going to safeguard that future.
Yeah.
So I would call for each and every one of us, starting from me
Yeah.
and any other state actor,
Yeah.
any other non-state actor, to really, really protect the rights of the children.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
All right, thank you everyone for being with us today and engaging with us. We've been talking about the African child and in particular the Kenyan child, and you've heard from the experts. Wacha kuchapa watoto, sikiza watoto, no child labor, and the law is very clear about these things, na utapatikana. And of course, sexual exploitation, there is no discussion. Once you're found in it, you have to answer for those. And there's no out-of-court settlement when it comes to children cases, especially sexual offenses. So let's protect our children. I don't know who sang it. I believe that children are our future or something. There's a song, I can't sing, but it has been sung, it has been said, the law is here, we are doing this, we can do more. And you as a non-state actor or a state actor, you're called upon to do more to safeguard the lives of our children. Asanteni sana, thank you for joining us, thank you for engaging. We'll respond to you if we didn't call you out on our comment on the comment section today, but we'll reach out to you and see exactly how you need help. So I want to wish you a good Friday, I want to wish you a restful weekend, and let's catch up again next week and to see what we shall be discussing. Keep engaging, keep doing what you're doing for the children and for the future of this country. Thank you so much and God bless.